I love you.
Ladies, men, and gentlefolk, all welcome back to another special potato pick.
Potato pick.
Wasn't that what we were calling it? A French fry threesome?
Oh, French fry threesome? I like that. Yeah, potato, we called it a potato pick, but last time we did it, we had not made that decision yet. The first time we did it, we called it the patron pick. But we realized that we already call you guys potatoes, so why not the potato pick? That just makes so much more sense.
You're our lovely couch potatoes. We don't just call you potatoes. You know?
Well, that's
There's
true.
More to it.
But you know, when I feel close to you, I call you potatoes because I'm very close to potatoes. Yeah, I love potatoes.
I love potatoes. They're amazing, man. They're very hearty, very healthy. Wait
a second. What? Are you saying that you've been dipping into the spuds?
What? No. I don't consume the lovely potatoes.
I don't know. Not at all. I think you used some terms there that kind of implied that you have taste of.
No, it's because there's I'm sure there was an episode about potatoes from Waffles and Mochi, you know, a lovely television show. I'm sure I just picked up some of the adjectives that is presented in that very special episode.
Because you learned about potatoes through Waffles and Mochi because you are not from this planet.
No, I don't know shit about most of veggies. I am a human being. Me not being on this planet's a joke.
Oh, that's not real.
Yeah. I'm not the green traveler from Borscht. I am a human man.
I am not the faceless Leon. I'm a human man, and this is a podcast about movies and TV.
Yeah, and this very special human man came from a very special human mother, and that human mother is and always will be most likely our number one fan. I love her so much, and she was the one who submitted this threesome choice that we're going to talk about today, and that is the first 3 Underworld films. There are 5 Underworld films. I'm telling you right now, I've only watched the first 3, and I can tell you don't need to watch 4 and 5. I don't think I haven't watched
who knows,
them,
Greg? Maybe they're good.
If you make it through 1 and 2 and you are so enthralled by this, and we'll talk about it, there is things to be enthralled by. We'll go into it.
Cool things.
If you watch this and do at the same time, which you are very likely to do. If you are very likely to do that, and you do enjoy it, go ahead, watch 4 and 5. But from my opinion, you don't have to. And the reason my mom, she loves this series, and so does my brother. I think my dad might too, but he falls asleep during every movie, so it's hard to tell. But I'm fairly certain that my mom, she told me that she would disown me if I didn't mention this, but she only put this movie forth, and she only loves this movie so much because it popularized a term for werewolves.
Right.
That is also her last name before she got married. The term lichen, it's always been I don't know how long back we started calling our lycanthropes, we're another word for werewolves.
Right.
That goes way far back. Well, this franchise, the Underworld movies, popularized the shortened version of just calling them lichens.
Right.
And my mom was just so in love with that. It blew her mind to see her name on the big screen, to hear it constantly be talked about. And so I think she just kind of loves it off of that bias.
Yeah.
But that's why we're talking about it today. That's why we're talking about it today, because she absolutely enjoys these films because her name is just constantly repeated over and over again. No matter how much I just tell her it comes from the Greek root of lycos, it was a Greek word that meant wolf, and then somewhere along the line we took it and made it lycanthrope for werewolf, and then it just shortened it. She just gets her name from that. That's all I keep telling her, is that's where it comes from. she loves
But you
it.
know what? I think it's as good a reason to like a movie than any reason to like a movie. I
That's
mean,
fair.
art is subjective. And I mean, there
And
are
this is
some.
subjective. This is, by all means, this is a very subjective trilogy.
Yes. So all right. So this is. I have to say that I did have a good time after everything was said and done with all three of these movies. I did. I'll say that up front. I had a good time. So let's go ahead and jump in though and synopsize Underworld. Should I do the first one?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so Selena, Kate Beckinsale, she is a vampire, and her family, they hunt down lichens because there's an age-old war between them, and she starts to suspect Craven, played by Shane Broley, and so she wakes up Victor, played by Bill Nighy or Nye. I'm never sure. I think he's like the best part of this movie, really.
He's definitely hamming it up to all extent.
Oh yes, and it's great. I mean, it's what the role needs, really. But he's an elder of the family. There's three elders: Victor, Marcus, who does not make an appearance in this film, and Amelia. Right? I believe that's it. And Amelia doesn't have any lines, but she's in this movie.
Yeah, she's an elder who gets killed within like 2 seconds from a horde of werewolves, and it's just like, you're an elder. Like the other ones seem like they're very competent and very hard to kill, but you got kind of trampled on.
So the way it works, which I thought, this is like another thing that's like, there's a lot of things that are very interesting about this world in this movie.
That's why people love it.
This first movie, I don't know that it is super effective at least in drawing me in. I don't know. It might be the early 2000s grungy, I don't know what to call it, latex goth.
Grungy angst.
Yeah. Vampires with guns. I don't know. I don't know if it really did it for me, at least in this first movie. And anyhow, they take turns, the elders. They'll rule for 100 years, and then they'll sleep for 200 while another person is ruling. It's Amelia's turn, but Marcus is going to be awoken. But since Celine was turned by Victor, she wakes him up to complain about Craven. And it's like a big no. And
really
it is
it's just a complaint.
Yeah, it really is. It is. But anyhow, she does suspect him of consorting with the lichens, which is another big no-no.
Yeah, so this is, as you said, this comes in 2003. It's right around when the Anne Rice paranormal romances were becoming really popular. I mean, she was popular before this, but like, Interview with a Vampire was like, I think late 90s or something like that. There's this vampire romance was just blossoming. Yeah. And I was in a phase, I was like in my teens when I first watched Underworld, and I do admit that really enjoying this as a kid, because this was right up my angsty alley. I wanted this shit. And it's weird because it's kind of like Resident Evil, where Resident Evil is Paul W.S. Anderson directing, and it's like a passion project for him. Yeah. And he cast his wife Mila Jovovich as the main character. Here, it's like a passion project for Lynn Wiseman, who is the director, and Danny McBride, who is the writer. And it's not the comedian Danny McBride of the This Is the End movies; it's a different guy. But Lynn Wiseman, he is Kate Beckinsale's husband.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he
at the time
his
too.
Wife. I think maybe they got divorced. I don't know, but. Yeah, this was his passion project. I mean, the only one he didn't do was the third one, which we'll talk about that when we get there. Well, he might not have done 4 and 5 also. Again, I haven't seen those, but he did 1 and 2. And the world building, like you were talking about, it's so subtle. Like there's just like small hints to how this world operates.
Right.
And
I wanted a lot more.
Well, I think it works for the intro, because I think the problem with the next one, when we talk the sequel, Underworld Evolution or whatever, that one they go heavy with the world building.
Right.
And they're trying very hard to establish a lot of stuff. And it becomes super convoluted, and it kind of starts to lose me. And here with this one, since they don't explore it too much, since they just, kind of just force this world into existence and just hope that you'll accept a lot of the details and then hope that they'll... Well, I feel like most people are going in just kind of expecting grungy angst, so...
Sure, that's fair.
I think that it's just a subtle world just hooks them. And I agree with you. I wasn't hooked because I do wish that the world was a little more explored.
Yeah, for sure.
But it being subtle and it being a very angsty film, I just went with it. And this one's very fun because there's another main character that Kate, after she awakens, the movie starts with like this shoot 'em up, spray and pray in a subway between the Lycans and the vampires.
It's like if it didn't have vampires and werewolves in it, it would be a gangster noir movie with high
it'd be
action scenes.
kind of like Matrix, very like Matrix feeling.
Yes, definitely a lot of pull from the Matrix. You're right.
Right,
100%.
right. And in that scene, though, there is a character, Michael Corvin or whatever, who is played by Scott Speedman.
Corvinus, I think, is
Mike
what it
Corvinus.
is.
I didn't know if he had a shortened version because that's the ancestor's name, so it might be the exact same. But
you might be right. I think that might be part of the story. Anyhow, yeah, I don't give a rat's ass about Michael, but he's important to the plot.
Welcome back. I'm just going to toss this in here just in case. We had some technical difficulties, so just in case there's a little bit of blip in the conversation, that's why. But we were talking Scott Speedman, who plays Michael Corvin or Michael Corvinus or some variation of that.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, when they're having their shoot 'em up, spray and pray scene in the subway between the Lycans and the vampires, he's there, and he catches Kate Beckinsale's eye, and it's just like that star-crossed lover thing. And
but not at all though. At the same time, it's the worst. It's like there's no connection.
Yeah, there is no connection, but he becomes special, and I don't remember how, but he just immediately she thinks he is special.
So he was so I don't know. This is a little bit spoilery, but it is honestly a pretty old movie. I guess skip like 5 minutes or something, but then I blanked on what I wanted to say. But
you gave him 5 minutes, so
I did. I gave him 5 minutes. That's quite some time. So the Lycans are there for Michael, but he's special because of the blood. And I think the vampires thought I think the vampires were there by happenstance, or they were hunting the Lycans or something like that.
Yeah.
And so Michael gets caught in the crossfire. And so from our perspective, though, in the movie, Michael just happens to be there. We don't find out that he's important to the Lycans until later. So it is really disconnected, and I don't give a flying fuck about Michael.
You don't like Scott?
Care.
You don't like Scott
I have
Speedman's bland acting?
I have nothing against him. Honestly, he did the job. I don't care, but it's just the story-wise, I did not care. He did the job. Okay, I'm not saying he did it well.
He did a job.
I
asked that in a question. Sorry, I asked that in a question stance. He did the job? Like, I didn't think he did the job. I thought he was pretty shit throughout this whole franchise. He's very boring. He is such a boring hero. And then, so here's the big thing. You find out, and I don't care about spoilers because I don't recommend seeing these films. Here's the thing: you find out he's the hybrid. He can be part vampire, part werewolf, and it's like, ooh.
Nobody's body could withstand both at the same time up until this point.
Apparently. And like when you see the werewolves change into the werewolves, at least in the first movie, it's a pretty good CGI scene. It's a good transformation.
Sure.
Not the greatest representation of werewolves I've seen, but it's decent, and the effects are nice. They're not too bad. Everything's in very dark blue lighting, so you can't really see much of the effects anyways, but it's not bad. And when you see the vampires in their vampire form, it's like, yeah, it's whatever. Their eyes are very bright. They have fangs. You know, it's typically just Bill Nye and Kate Beckinsale, and they're both hamming it up to a good extent.
Yeah.
But when you see Michael transform into the hybrid, who fucking cares? He just looks like a dude with
he's a gray guy,
black hair. Yeah, he's gray. Yeah, I mean, but it's in blue lighting, so he just kind of looks like he's just got some like black hair. Like he just like, I don't know, and then his face just looks really gross and stupid.
He still looked like a vampire, really. I don't feel like he looked much of anything like a werewolf.
No.
But yeah, he's only able to do this, and like you said, I think we should say fuck it to the spoilers in this episode, because it's just going to get too difficult to talk about in the future movies.
Right.
But like, so he's got this blood, the Corvinus blood, and since it's a major part of the story next time, the next episode. Alexander Corvinus was the first immortal. He had 2 sons, and one of them got bit by a bat, one of them got bit by a wolf, and that started these 2 strands. That's one thing that I find very interesting in this movie, is that the vampires and werewolves are very closely related. I think that's very interesting. And you know, this war between them, which Victor kind of veils in shadows, it's like, oh, they started the war and blah yada yada. But it's a lot more complicated than that. I feel like they could have done a whole lot more with that, and I guess they do in the second movie.
I mean, they do in the third movie. That's what the whole third movie's about.
Yeah. But, okay, so maybe I should save that for closing statements.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about this first movie, though? Do you feel like there's more to say, or should we go to closing statements?
I think there is more to say, because we haven't even talked about Lucian.
That's true.
You find out that this big, all the Lycans are kind of working together. They're supposed to be this, like, rabid, wild dogs, the vampires say they're not good at teaming up, but they're all rallying around Lucian like they typically do, as you find out throughout most of Lycan history in the next 2 movies. And Lucian is played by a sexy Michael Sheen.
Oh, yeah.
So
what a funny boy.
Right? This is the biggest surprise for me, because, like, I watched Good Omens, and I really loved him, and I'm like, oh my god, I love this actor.
So good.
I need more of this actor in my life. And then I watched this, and I'm like, oh, he's already been in my life. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, but it's a completely different performance. I honestly would say equally as good. Like, it's not as good of a series. Good Omens is very high quality, I think. But his performance as Lucian is pretty good.
Yeah, he's my favorite part of the entire franchise. Like,
yeah,
and he was when I was a kid too. He was my favorite part, because he was the only character that I really actually actively rooted for, because I liked him. I liked his story. I felt bad for his story. Like, there's a lot of sadness there. He is a leader who's just trying to do right by his people, and at the same time, he doesn't really want to fight this war anymore. He's kind of just done with it, so he's trying to look for a way to just easily end it, so he could just be at peace finally. And like, he's the only character I really root for. I mean, you're supposed to root for Kate, but she really doesn't have much. She's kind of a 2D cardboard cutout character,
right?
And then she becomes this, like, just weird couple thing with Scott Speedman,
which makes just no absolute sense. Like, if they maybe would have played up with the lore of vampires being sexual creatures, maybe that would have been played off a little bit better. Like, okay, I'm with this guy, I'm gonna sleep with him. That's because that's what vampires do. But they don't have that as part of their lore. They do have they do have some other sexy scenes, but it's not like vampires are drawn to it, or they use it to lure people to feed on. They don't use that in the show. Which
let's talk about that. There is a very PG softcore edited porn scene kind of between Kate Beckinsale and Scott Speedman. And the director is Kate Beckinsale's husband. Like, how awkward was that set that day? Like, he's directing his wife in a softcore porn, basically.
All right, listen though. Okay, for the other people on set, probably fairly awkward, but for her husband, you know, some people are really into that. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
like a
but
lot.
one of the Scott Speedman was like, Scott Speedman's like, could we not do that? That's a very wide shot. We can't really cover much on that shot. So I don't know about this.
No,
it was so awkward.
Yeah, I was watching. I think that scene, and my cousin was in the room, and she was like, "He's not even very attractive."
He was for the 2000s.
Yeah, sure.
He had the perfect look for the 2000s.
I mean, he works.
I mean, the only reason they slept together was because they survived like a fight scene together.
Right.
Where they were like both attacked by werewolves and they survived, and it was kind of like that. Oh man, we got to capitalize on this moment. We just, we fought off death. Let's fuck.
I also think she fed him a little bit while they were doing that. Or maybe that's in the next episode. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, fed him as in gave him blood. Yeah.
Gross. That's how you get diseases.
Yeah, having talked to Lucian, and again, Bill Nye is, he's fun and enjoyable.
Always.
And, I'm ready for the closing statements on the first one, and I give it 2.5 stars. It is an enjoyable film. Yeah, it's not bad. I understand not liking their approach to the world building, but in your first movie, if you don't know how well it's gonna do, you don't want to convolute it too much. And I like that they just kind of they put it in there. They forced some things. They made it work. You kind of get a hint at how this world works, and they can go ahead and just put a bunch of holes into it and make it very convoluted in the next film when they have a bigger budget but worse effects.
Yeah, that is kind of what happens, and I guess we'll talk about that in just a moment. So, real quick, I did forget that Wentworth Miller is in this. He plays Captain Cold in the Flash series, but
who is he?
He was Dr. Adam. Which is like
Dr. Adam.
Yeah, Dr. Adam, who has a couple of scenes that don't matter, but he tries really hard, Wentworth does, at being Michael's friend. I
remember him now. Oh my god.
And he's got kind of long. He's got kind of long hair for what we're used to seeing. He usually keeps it pretty cropped short nowadays. But
he's not only is he in not only is he Captain Cold, but he's also in Prison Break, which is probably where he was more popular from.
That's true.
Yeah, with the guy who plays Heatwave or whatever that
whatever
character's name is.
Yeah,
it might not be Heatwave.
Mortar and Pestle. I don't know. We got the fire guy, and that has nothing. I know there's not. I know. I was thinking like a firework mortar. Is what I was thinking. Gotcha. But then Pestle came out. Anyhow, my closing statement for this movie is that I honestly did not enjoy it very much. And so I give it a half a face for the enjoyment value. I think that there's just so many interesting things that I think that they could have made pay off a little bit better in this movie. But it was in the time period where every movie had to be... Wait, what was the length of this movie before I say something stupid?
It was like 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Was it 2 hours? 2 hours and 1 minute. So that, honestly, I feel like for this time period was a little bit long for a movie. Yeah. So I think it could have had another half an hour with just to make some things make a little bit more sense. For one thing, Celine and Michael's relationship. It's like all in a matter of a couple of nights. So it kind of makes sense that they don't have that time to make that connection. But then they don't have that time to make that connection. Save it for the second movie. There doesn't have to be a sex scene in your movie. especially if it doesn't make sense, which I don't think it did. And but yeah, there's a lot of things that I like about this world. So for that reason, like, you gotta watch this movie if you want to watch the other movies. But I did not. This is my least favorite of the three. I'm gonna say that up front.
Oh shit! Going up front with that.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, yeah, let's move on to the second one because this is my least favorite. I will say, Underworld Evolution comes out 3 years later. Same writer, same director. You know, you still got husband directing wife, and we get a little more backstory. We get a little more of the world building. But as I've mentioned, the story building in the second movie is so damn convoluted. And it brings up too many questions. It makes me just wonder way too much when I'm just supposed to be watching a stupid fucking paranormal, grungy, angsty sci-fi film.
That's really interesting that you said that. And you said it earlier, and I had to sit back and be like, because honestly, I was never really confused during this movie. I was more confused during Underworld.
Yeah, here's my question in Evolution: when Marcus is freed, because he comes out, and before I get into this, let me just go ahead and get this out of the way. My sonic screwdriver doesn't work anymore.
Oh well, I got you. I got you on this.
Oh, I got it. Marcus is played by Tony Curran. We have a nice little Doctor Who reunion here in this movie.
Yeah.
Because you have Tony Curran, who plays Van Gogh in my favorite, Vincent Van Gogh in my favorite Doctor Who episode, which is just the Doctor and Vincent, or Vincent and the Doctor, I think that's the title of it.
And he does a good job as Marcus, too.
And he does a great job as Marcus, too. He is really fun. But he also plays Vincent Van Gogh. And in that very episode, the curator of a Van Gogh exhibit, who is a huge, he's a huge fan of Van Gogh's artwork. That guy is played by Bill Nye. And it's this beautiful little reunion here. And Bill Nye plays what's his fuck in this movie, and
Victor.
Victor, thank you. And I love it. And there's another Doctor Who character who makes an appearance later. Derek Jacobi plays Alexander Corvinus, and he plays the Master in a David Tennant episode for like one episode before he regenerates. Yeah, here's my issue with it. Here's where I first started questioning things. Is when Marcus awakes, he immediately starts looking for his brother because, again, not worrying about spoilers, you find out he is the very first vampire. Yeah. He is the son of Alexander Corvinus that was bitten by a bat. His brother was bitten by a wolf.
William.
And that very first... William, thank you. He was the very first werewolf, and he is stuck in that form. He is just pure chaos in a werewolf's body. But Marcus loves him, and Marcus wants to free him. And Marcus is so damn focused on freeing him that I'm wondering, why the fuck would Victor ever be okay with him being out as the sole elder vampire for a whole fucking century when he knows that he's just going to focus on his brother and ruin everything?
He doesn't know where the keys are. But
he's going to focus on that.
Yeah, maybe he has been trying to, but he has to do it this intrigue kind of way where he's trying to get the pieces a little bit by time. But Sonia had, not worrying about spoilers again, Sonia had the key, who we'll talk about later. And then once what happened with her, then Lucian had the key. So he had no way of knowing that because I think Victor was the only one that knew it was the key. He killed the person who made it.
Right.
But when he wakes up, you said he goes immediately after it. That's because what woke him up was that werewolf's blood who knew about the key. Mm-hmm. So,
but his attitude, how he acts, and how he is so driven. You know that when he's going to be awake for 100 years, he's not going to give a fuck about the vampire line. He's going to be solely focused on his brother.
Maybe. One other argument is that at least way back in the olden day times, their force, like all the vampires that they had in their force, were people that were under Victor, because Victor was a nobleman and Marcus turned him.
Yeah, that brings up my other issue. Why is Marcus not the fucking leader of everything? You find out he is very vindictive. He is very much capable of being a leader and being driven by a pure focus. But he is an underling to Victor, who is very much weaker than him?
Yeah, well, okay, so like in a physical presence, yes, he is weaker than him. But I think the thing is that Victor is his ally, and he does see that the whole vampire family as his literal family. It is his blood.
I don't know if I feel like he feels of Victor as an ally, though, because in all the flashbacks, they're very pitted against each other as enemies.
They are, but they have a similar goal because, okay, so Marcus wants to rein in the werewolves because they are legitimately turning and killing everything they can come across. And like you said, those original werewolves, they had no control. So he wants to reel them in too. He just can't take it upon himself to kill William because it's his brother who he loves, played by Brian Steele. Not that you ever get to hear him talk, but I guess that's the guy in the werewolf suit.
He looks good swinging around.
He sure does. Yeah, he looks good in fur. I gotta say though, I do disagree with you. I enjoyed the scene that they went back to and had that little scene with them. But honestly, I do wish that the whole scene was just played in that time period. That would be a lot more fun. But it's not. It comes back. And then the one thing that I really hated about this movie is that they had that prologue. And then they went and did like previously on Underworld. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Like just transition into the modern thing. If we're here to watch this, we probably watched the other one.
Right, exactly.
DVDs already existed. So I'm sure that they probably watched it before they came. Like maybe hours or days before.
Right. It's, I don't know, everything about the second one I think is just trash. It keeps the CGI, as I mentioned, is especially awful.
It is.
When they transition, when they do the werewolf transition, it looks so choppy.
It wasn't good in the first one though. It wasn't good
in the first one, but it was passable in the first one.
Yeah, I don't know
because of how
why.
they shot it, because of it's also early 2000s, 2003. This is 2006. Like, it's still a little acceptable for 2006.
Right.
But how they show it, and it's in such darkness that it just looks awful how they lit the whole thing. It's just like, oh, I hate it so much.
I would say that there was more detail, but because there was more detail, when it was rendered, it was more choppy.
Yeah.
That makes, and it does make it less believable.
Yeah, and it bothered me so much. The up close effects were good.
Yeah, there was some good practical effects.
Yeah, and I did like that, and I think Marcus's hybrid look was nice. I didn't really understand how his arms and wings worked sometimes, but that's fine. I didn't.
The wings with the points on them, they were like
because he could just like
wings.
fling them out like daggers real fast. It was cool effect.
It was cool,
but at the same time, it looked stupid. Also, it's just
so Michael. This is something to clarify, I feel like, because I think this is kind of confusing in the movie. Michael was the first hybrid, and Marcus only became a hybrid because that werewolf blood woke him up. And the Corvinuses are the only ones able to become hybrids also.
Oh, so I didn't realize. I thought he was just always a hybrid. I thought he could always just take that form if he wanted to.
No, that is a new thing for Marcus when he wakes up. And but my question is though, because the wings obviously are a bat trait. So my question is, did Marcus always have wings? Like, did Victor have wings in the first one? I can't recall. I don't think he did.
No, I don't think so. I don't, because Victor is just a normal dude turned vampire. So I don't think he has wings.
When he first wakes up, he looks a little less normal, dude. I thought that part was cool about the first movie, how it took a while for the blood to wake him up. That was kind of cool.
Because he's drained. That's why he looked that way. He was just drained.
You know what? Honestly, this whole thing once again would work better as a TV show. That's it.
Oh man, I don't know if I would. That's the thing, is you said the first one needed an extra half hour. I don't know if I could watch an extra half hour of this, and I don't think I could watch a whole season of
That's because of how it's written and portrayed, is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you could have this dark tone and have a really cool vampire series based off of it, especially if you made it jump around in time quite a bit, because you could do different things in the different periods where the elders are, and you learn about these different elders and their different ruling styles and how Selene behaves differently under each of their rule. That could be interesting, but that's not what these movies are about.
Yeah, I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. That's not a...
Well, somebody's going to hear it, and it's going to get pitched, and they're going to make it.
This is the shit people want. I know this is. The world is good. You're absolutely right. Cool. The world, there is a lot to it that I would love to explore, but I don't know. I can't get behind paranormal romantic vampires for longer than like an hour and a half.
Definitely not the romantic part. The romance in this movie makes no fucking sense.
No.
It is just the same as the second movie. But I do think that if they didn't have it in the first movie and then they brought it into this second one, I would have been more satisfied with it because the characters had been together longer.
Well, another part that pissed me off too is that they fight. So, Selene... Is it Selene?
Yeah, it's Selene.
Kate and Scott. I'm just going to stick with Kate and Scott.
Sure.
Kate and Scott are on the run, and Marcus is going after them.
Yeah.
And they fight Marcus like 3 times. And each time, Marcus proves that he is very capable of just killing them.
But
something happens that he like falls behind. You know, he gets crushed into a cliff, and he's just like rolls around on the ground for a little while, and his little wing is broken. He's just like, oh, I can't fly, but he knows that Kate can't get in the sunlight, whereas he can. So he's just like, I'm just gonna. Well, maybe he can at that point.
I think he can because he's a hybrid as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, but he knows Kate can't fight, and he almost killed both of them.
Right.
So instead of complaining about his little broken wing, he could have just gone and killed them. But no.
It's true.
No, he goes
and hides.
He was much
faster than them.
And in the second time he fights, he easily basically murders both of them.
Right.
But he leaves them for dead. He doesn't double tap. And because of that, Kate's okay. She's able to go face him in the showdown.
I think that's because Marcus does have, especially compared to Victor, he does have compassion. What he's really after is his brother. So he doesn't really feel, he only fights Michael and Selene because they're in the way. He doesn't have anything personal against them.
But he also, with Tanis, I think his name is, the one guy who he gets the information from.
The historian.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has nothing against that guy either, and actually respects him, and he kills him to get the information out of him. So
that's true. He's ruthless. He is ruthless, but I don't think he holds a grudge.
Yeah, but he knows Kate's gonna come after him, and he knows that this is going to possibly ruin his plan if he doesn't fucking kill her.
Yeah.
But he's like, nope, I've killed Michael, and by killed I mean drove something through his chest, so he must be dead.
It's a classic antagonist mistake.
Yeah, I know, and it really pisses me off here. But that final battle where he finally releases his brother, and you have, crazy ass werewolf and hybrid vampire versus hybrid vampire werewolf and crazy ass vampire who drank who drank Corvinus blood and is now also Kate is now also a hybrid because she drank Elder Corvinus's blood.
I forgot.
And so now she's apparently more powerful, so that's why she's able to survive the final boss battle. It's not much. She brings a bunch of cannon fodder. She brings like 7 men who can be easily killed. So that provides some entertainment. You watch them die in various ways, and that's like, ha, that one like got eaten, or that one got flew into a blade chopper, ha, and like it's amusing. And then you get to the final boss battle where it's the 4 of them, and I say the 4 of them because Scott's not actually dead. Lo and behold, he just comes back to life because fuck us. Who needs a goddamn story that we've been showing?
Well, they have showed that they can heal rather quickly.
But he got a huge chunk of wood shoved through his chest. His heart's no longer there.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the hole was. So what? Did the hearts grow back? Do they just need a brain? Is that all that you need?
Maybe they just need the blood. There's a lot about the blood in this series.
They're immortals, and it's ridiculous. And the final battle between the 4 of them is, in my opinion, not that exciting at all. It lasts like maybe I'm probably under exaggerating. To me, it feels like it lasts like a minute, where it's just the 4 of them fighting, and how they kill them is just ludicrous.
You don't like the Saw thing with the helicopter.
Yeah, there's a helicopter death, and then there's a head ripped off or something like that from the jaw.
Oh yeah. Michael like puts his fingers in the werewolf's mouth and pulls it apart.
Yeah, and just pulls them apart. And it looks cool. Like, yeah, that's badass. But it just happened so fast, and they were built up to be such monstrous things, and they had kicked Scott and Kate's ass so handily. Just one of them had so handily twice already that it's just, I'm like, really? This is just, I don't know. It's just a pitiful ending, in my opinion. Like, I'm just leading into my closing statements. I give it 1.5 stars. It's as I said, it's my least favorite. I don't know, when Bill Nye is on screen, even though he is always enjoyable when he's hamming it up, he is really hamming it up in this one. Like, he's doing all the facial expressions and the tisks and clicking his lips and everything.
Victor or Marcus?
Yeah, Bill Nye. Bill Nye.
Yeah.
Victor. Yeah.
He's not in this movie a whole lot. It's only in the flashbacks.
Yeah, but when he is hamming it hardcore, and he's doing all of those
it's just the way he talks, Greg.
Yeah, right. He is an actor. But no, I don't. I really don't like this one. I don't know. When I watch it, I'm not entertained by the plot. Them going so deep into the backstory, that is nice. I do like the world building, but the way they do it and all of these just humongous exposition dump scenes, where it's like, all right, now 2 characters are just going to sit down at a table and they're going to talk for a long fucking time about the history of all of this. I'm toning out. It's a grunge action film. Like, just give me something. And then they do, but the effects are bad and everything's blue.
I can't say that I enjoyed that scene where Tanis is explaining stuff, but I do have to say, man, I'm much more into any movie that just gives me some lore over the action scenes. I really am. So I enjoy the scenes that are with history type characters like Tanis. And Tanis is an alright character. But I did want to say something before I do my closing statement about Corvinus. Like, I think Derek Jacobi did an interesting job, but like, he is so underutilized, and he's like throughout the first half of the movie, they don't say who he is, and they're just like alluding to him being some kind of secret supernatural police, like the head of it. And then all of a sudden, oh no, this is actually Marcus's daddy. And it's like, okay, sure, I guess I kind of saw that coming, but it also didn't make any sense. There was one particular time where they I don't remember what the shot leading up to it was, but all of a sudden it was Corvinus, like with his hand on his chin, looking woefully or something out the window, and then it cuts to Selena and they do a thing or two, and then it goes back to what they were doing in the first scene, like before the Corvinus shot, and I'm like,
right,
what was the point of those two shots? They did nothing. They did nothing for the movie. I don't understand.
It's because those scenes were very exposition, and they get boring after a while when they test it with audiences. People start to tune out from shit, and they're just like, they notice when people tune out, and they're like, all right, we need to add cuts here and here because people are tuning out. They're going to their phones.
Let's do it. I'm tuning out now, I think. Okay,
exactly. Exactly.
Though I have to say, man, for my closing statement, did you give it a star rating? I don't know.
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5. Okay. See, though,
yeah.
I'm the exact opposite than you. I liked this movie over the other movie. I think having more of the world there was cool. I think they could have done a better job of integrating that prologue and maybe some other scenes from the past, and that would have been better instead of using like Tanis the way that they did.
Right.
That could have been cool. Maybe even could have used Derek Jacobi's character in the back flashes, the fat flashbacks, whatever, as well. But anyhow, I'm gonna give it a full face because I did enjoy it a lot more than the other one. I don't know why. I sure as shit did though. So that's what I'll have to say.
That's fair.
Full face movie.
That's all right.
And I'll go ahead and synopsize Rise of the Lycans if you're ready.
Yo, let's do it. Let's do it because this is a different director. It's still written by Danny McBride and a couple other people joined him, but now we have a different director in Patrick Tatopoulos.
So we bring back in Lucian to tell his story in the past. This is the only movie not based in modern day. So we go back in time to tell the story that they told twice already in this series. So the necessity of this movie is non-existent, but it is interesting. And if this was the only movie, it still would have worked. Sure. It's kind of not a non sequitur from the show at the same time as already being done in the series.
Right.
So Victor,
that's the beauty of this movie.
Yeah, it really is. So it does kind of make it a little more enjoyable though too, because you can take it as a separate chunk, even though it's using these characters that have already. Tanis is in this movie, right?
I think I remember that he's in it, but I don't. Yeah,
he helps Sonia and Lucian out.
Right.
And that's how he got in trouble in the first place. Played by Stephen McIntosh. Honestly, an interesting actor. I don't know that he necessarily seems like he wants to be there, but he kind of reminds me. I can't remember the actor's name, but I'm not going to find it in my head. But there's this guy. Just cut all that. I don't know who the fuck he is. I do. In Once Upon a Time, he played the Dark One before Robert Carlyle took over.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't help me.
Yeah, that doesn't help you, but he's in other things. Like, I've seen it. I remember him playing a mad scientist once, which was perfect for him. I feel like he could be a good Victor von Frankenstein, but I don't think he's ever played that. Doesn't matter. We're talking about Stephen McIntosh, but I think I'm also done talking about him. The synopsis of this movie. Lucian, for some reason, was born to some Lycans, but he was able to maintain his human form.
Yeah.
Victor, who is the ruling elder at the time, decides that he can use Lucian's blood to create a race of Lycans that can be used as slaves. So he sets up a whole system where these werewolves are his bodyguards, labor force, whatever he wants them to be. But Lucian is his favorite. So because Lucian is his favorite, Lucian has the opportunity to get close to Sonya, played by Rona Mitra, who looks surprisingly, but also it's kind of like, it kind of gives you some mind dissonance because she looks a lot like Kate Beckinsale. And that's the point, because they mention in a episode before that Victor turned Celine because she reminded him of Sonya, who he lost. But as we know after watching this, that he actually murdered. But anyhow, because we're not worried about spoilers, we already decided.
Womp womp.
It is weird mind dissonance thing, and it's even stranger because when they first told this story, Sonya was definitely a blonde woman, but I digress.
I didn't really notice. They tell as you said, they tell the exact same story, but of the details of it, you know, it's whatever.
Right.
It looked close enough. Like, all right.
Eventually, Lucian, still played by Michael Sheen very well.
Yes, best part of the movie yet again.
Definitely. Though I enjoy Victor. I enjoy a lot of the characters. This movie, honestly, is a lot more enjoyable than the first one, I still think. But it just did not need to happen. I agree with that. It just did not need to happen. Anyhow, eventually, Lucian, with the help of Sonya, decides to rebel. Or first, maybe they try to run away. I don't remember exactly. Victor finds out that they were lovers.
Yeah, that's the reason they're trying to run away, is because they're lovers and their love can't happen.
Right.
Because he's a werewolf and she's a vampire.
And this romance actually makes sense.
McCoy.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like they've actually had a life to spend together, like secretly.
Yeah.
But that is a lot more compelling story than, hey, I met you the other day and just happened to save your life, but you are a werewolf and I'm a vampire. Yeah. So the rebellion goes, and that's the rise of the Lycans. That's the show.
Yeah. It's a slave rebellion story, but told with werewolves.
Yeah.
And the CGI is back to being, you know, it's good. I really do like the CGI in this one. It doesn't look bad. It's passable. It's not aged great, but it's not bad. I enjoy the werewolves here. I enjoy their story. You feel a lot for them. I like Sonya. She's well acted. Rona Mitra does a great job.
Yeah, she does. But it's so weird because it just seems like a copy of Celine.
I mean, that basically is all she is. She is a rebellious princess character. You know, there's really not much to say about this one because, as you said, it's incredibly unnecessary. We know the outcome of the story. We know what's going to happen. We know what characters are going to die and what characters are not going to die.
So I almost honestly recommend watching this first. But the problem is that it's a spoiler for the other two movies.
Watch this and only this. Don't even worry about the other two movies. This one's fine. This one's passable. Yeah. I don't like them taking a slave rebellion story and, you know, supplanting it on the werewolves that are mostly white people, but
that's fair.
It's whatever.
Besides Raz, I do like Raz.
Yeah, he is a
played
good character.
by Kevin Graveau, maybe, or Grovier. Anyhow, he's got one hell of an interesting voice. I feel like that's his natural speaking voice.
He's very intimidating. Weird.
Yeah, definitely. And he was in the first movie too, but not in the second.
And that's one of the things that's sad is like you watch him build up this relationship with Lucian, and then you think about how they died in the first movie, and you're just like, man,
right? Yeah.
All those deaths are bittersweet and are not deserving of the acts of heroicism that we're seeing here. You know, it's just like they're really cool here, and then you think about their deaths, and it's like, oh man, they really didn't put much thought in.
No, because like in that first movie, the war seemed so gray. Like, you know, there was no good guy, bad guy. Where in this one, like, obviously the werewolves were oppressed by the vampires, and that wasn't cool. They're both immortals for one thing, and for another thing, slavery is never okay.
As I said, there's not really much more to talk about, I feel, with this movie. But there was one thing that really did piss me off that I wanted to talk about, and that's, again, we know which characters are going to die because we know what characters are still around in the first movie.
Yeah.
And at the end, you had the final, very climactic, like, oh, we've been working all this way to get to the Lucian versus Bill Nye, Victor, standoff. We know neither of the characters are going to die because they're in the first movie.
Right, exactly.
But we've been building up to this moment, and you have a moment where Lucian gets the upper hand, and he can easily just move Victor into the sunlight and immediately kill him. Or he can stab him through the mouth and let him fall into a well and be like, haha, he dead, even though I've seen him, heal 1,000 fucking times since I've been born.
Right.
And it's just, why didn't you kill him? Well, because he's alive in the first movie and we couldn't kill him. So he couldn't just push him into the sunlight and make him burn like he burned his fucking daughter, which would have been a very cathartic moment for Lucian to be like, I'm going to burn you like you burned the love of my life. No, we're going to stab him through the mouth, drop him in a well. That's got to do it.
That'll do it.
It didn't work in the fucking ring, but...
So, closing statements?
Yeah, closing statements. I mean, as I said, this and only this. You don't need to watch the first two movies. Out of the threesome, this is the one that wins because, I am okay with the first one. The second one, I can't. And then this one, this is passable. This is fine. It's an enjoyable movie. It's completely unnecessary in the canon of the franchise. But if it had happened first, this would have been good. I would have been okay with this.
Yeah, I'm 100% with that. Yeah. So for me, another full-faced movie. This probably is a better movie than the second movie. But honestly, and I was thinking I was going to give it to the second movie because I thought the story was more compelling, especially for a world that was like, hey, modern day vampire werewolf war movie. It seemed the story in that seemed a little bit more interesting than the first movie for sure. But for this movie, like you said, if this came out, if this was the first thing or if this was the only thing, it would have been great. But it doesn't. It just was so unnecessary because they literally told the story twice before.
Exactly. You know precisely what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And how it's going to look because we've already seen the flashback of the scenes that are important.
Right. Yeah. So I would say if you're, I don't know. I mean, they made a fourth and a fifth movie. And I have to say, I'm curious. I'm curious enough to watch them at some point, but I'm going to wait for them to be streamable again because they took them off of the stream just for this new movie that just came out. Like, I swear when your mom recommended this, I found them. I found them on a streaming site on Tubi. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it wasn't there because the new movie came out and they want people to rent the movies.
Those bastards.
So we rented
them. It's not worth it.
But that's okay. You guys,
no, it's not.
You potatoes out there are our patrons. We appreciate your contribution so much. And this is for you, so we're totally cool with, spending a little bit of money from time to time to make you guys happy and give you things that you deserve. Nice, bright, shiny things that we complain about.
And if you want to hear more of us complaining, you can always give us some absolute garbage films to watch by joining our Patreon. You could subscribe, and if you contribute enough, if you decide to go up the tiers, up the ladders that are offered, you can recommend your own threesome, and you can torture us. You can give us some beauties, and and hear us gush.
Yeah.
Whatever your heart desires.
That being said, any of our patrons get the right to vote on what this episode might be. So go check out those tiers and other merch opportunities at patreon.com/greenandfaceless, we'd really appreciate your support. But we will always make this show for free because really, I just love hanging out with you, Greenie. I love it.
Yeah, I love hanging out with you.
And movies
I
are
just
good.
love hearing the sound of my voice.
Yeah, it is nice.
And
Oh, I was talking
your
about
voice
my
is good too.
Oh.
I was going to say, yours is
I like
mine a lot.
I like yours too. I like yours too.
But it's harder for me because if and someday we will be able to be in the same room and do this together, and it'll feel much better for me. I feel because a lot of times there's a little delay in both of us.
Yeah.
So there's moments where I feel like we're low energy because we're kind of just waiting for the other one. We don't want to step on each other's toes.
Sure.
But yeah, when we're able to get together, it'll be a beautiful thing.
It will
and
be.
And then I'll love your voice.
And it's coming soon. And then you'll love my voice. Okay, just right now you like it. You just like it right now.
Yeah, right now it's all right.
Okay.
It's good.
I see. Anyhow, I want to say thank you very much to Delma Callahan for recommending these movies. I did have fun watching them. I did.
Delma Lycan.
Oh. Well,
that's right.
That's the show. That's the show.
I have been the Green Traveler.
And I am the Faceless Leon. Thank you so much for listening. Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of Fiction Works 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the Fiction Works 19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.